preparation, he also wants us to do our best in presentation. Somebody say, I need to present something. Ooh, y'all dead this morning. Yeah, you need to present something, and the something that you need to present is yourself. Didn't you hear what he said? That I want you to present yourself. We always like to push other folk out front when we want to talk about the epitome of Christianity, or if we want to give a model of someone who's really walking with God. We like to push other folk out front. We'll tell them real quick, if don't nobody else trust the Lord, I know Sister Do Funny, trust the Lord. If won't nobody else keep their hand in God's hand, I know brother this and that will keep his hand in God's hands. But don't you know it's wonderful to be able to point at somebody else, but God is pointing at you. God wants you to be the example. God wants you to be the model. He wants you to present yourself unto him. He wants you to present yourself unto him as a living testimony of his goodness and his grace. He wants you to present yourself unto him as one who's been tried in the fire. He wants you to present yourself unto him, because my brothers and my sisters, you cannot be an undercover Christian. You've got to be out front. You've got to be out in the public eye. Somebody's watching you, and they're watching you to see what it really means to be a child of God. You've got to present yourself. Some of y'all still looking at me strange. I'm trying to rush on in this message. Romans chapter 12 verses 1 through 2 says something like this. So here's what I want you to do. God helping you, I want you to take your everyday, ordinary life, your sleeping, eating, going to work, and walking around life, and place it before God as an offering. I want you to embrace what God does for you, recognizing that what God does for you is the best thing for you. I want you to recognize that you don't need to become so well adjusted to your culture that you fit into the culture without ever thinking about how the culture is fitting into you. You got to understand that God wants you to readily recognize what he wants from you and be able to quickly respond to it. Unlike the culture around you always dragging you down to its level of immaturity, God brings the best out of you, develops well-formed maturity in you. And if you'll trust him and never doubt him, God is going to do something in you that's exceeding abundantly more than you could ever ask or think. God wants us to be prepared. Some of y'all looking at me real strange, but you gotta be prepared, because you never know what life is gonna throw at you. Just about the time you think everything is gonna be well, that's the time all hell will break loose. Just about the time you think it's going to be smooth sailing, that's about the time when the storm clouds will come and the tornado and tsunamis will begin to beat on your life's door. You've got to be prepared, because if you are not prepared, my brothers and sisters, if you don't do your best in preparation and do your best in presentation, you're going to have to suffer some humiliation. And humiliation is the feeling or condition of being lessened in dignity or pride. It's feeling full of shame. It's embarrassed or regretful. Some of y'all looking at me like, Reb, I don't really understand what you're talking about. It's the feeling you have after you shut the door, because the JWs, Jehovah's Witnesses, knocked at your door and you acted like you didn't have time, but the real deal was you weren't prepared to be able to deal with them according to what God says. Can Can I get a witness in the house? It's the shame you feel for when somebody comes to you and asks you what God says about a certain situation that they're going through. The only thing you can give them is your little 2 cents about what you might do instead of telling them what the word says. I'm here to tell you, if you don't do your best in preparation and presentation, you're going to suffer humiliation.